I'm here today with Jeremy at Vinter's Collective and
In downtown Napa,
in downtown Napa,
in the heart of downtown Napa.
Right on Main Street. And I love this building. It's an old building in my things of history in Napa, and it's been many things.
It has absolutely been so many things here. This is the oldest commercial building in downtown Napa, or actually in Napa in general, built in 1875, and has been everything from a Chinese laundry to a butcher shop, a chick hatchery, a saloon, and what we love most, a brothel. So, and that's the identity we've kind of leaned into around here.
And I remember when it was a deli and a butcher shop growing up, and it's just a beautiful building. And what's great actually is this building was damaged during the earthquake.
Oh, absolutely.
It was one of the first buildings repaired. They put a lot of money into restoring this building. It's just a gorgeous building.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though we had this horrible thing where, one of our walls went into the street, we used that opportunity to build it better than it ever was. So it's a fantastic building. It's wonderful to host tastings. It gives a history of not just Napa, but California and our entire wine industry.
Definitely looking forward to trying some of these wines and talk a little bit about etiquette, tasting, all that good stuff.
Let's go ahead and we'll pour, just for funsies, a nice little rosé. Stephen Mathiasen is the winemaker. Come by, this is a beautiful light rosé, a Provence style, something to really get excited about. Salud.
So, yeah, I can see that as a summer wine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love it just because it's one of those wines that it's nice, it's clean, it cleans up your palate, it gets you excited about the tastings you're going to do later on. It's really a lot of fun.
One of the things I love is that how everybody has a different speed. I think that it just boils down to the old thing. It's one of the most important things about tasting is don't let anybody tell you what you like.
Absolutely.
So somebody else might love it, and you may not.
Well, that's why we go to tasting rooms. So, there's a difference between tasting and drinking, and we taste so we can drink. And when you go, when you come to this place, so wineries or tasting rooms in Napa, you're exploring. Hopefully you're opening up your palate a little bit and not being so entrenched in what you think you like, and explore what that region has to offer. First sip is going to orient your palate. The second sip is you really get to explore the wine, and you really get to make a decision at that point. Is this something I like? And if it isn't, don't be afraid to dump out. You're not going to offend anybody. If it's not for you, dump out. The winery, the tasting room, they've got lots more wine. I think the one thing to remember is that when you're in a tasting room or in the middle of a tasting, is that generally it is a communal experience and that there are other people in the room. So it's just a matter of being courteous to those other people. First and foremost, the best way, smelling is absolutely one of the primary things we do in a tasting. It is best to go to your tastings without cologne, without perfume. When I'm doing a tasting, I'm trying to get into all the aspects of the wine, and the last thing I want to smell is your high karate cologne or your Chanel 5, perfume. So certainly that's a great thing to leave at home. Secondly, try not to walk in carrying your coffee. Coffee, while I love coffee, before a tasting can really inhibit and affect how you taste things. Leave the coffee cup outside, come in, maybe some water beforehand just to get your palate going again, and then continue, start the tasting from there. One thing I'll also say is definitely if you come into my tasting room chewing gum, you're going to get mocked, and it's going to be mercilessly. The winemakers have spent a lot of time and energy to create the best wines they possibly can, and starting a tasting with gum in your mouth is just a complete show of disrespect, not just for the winemakers, but for the entire practice. So keep that at home and outside. Maybe afterwards to refreshen your palate a little bit.
Yeah,
but going into a tasting, leave the gum at home. Just remember that you're not in the room by yourself, and that the things that you're doing are certainly going to affect the other tasters in the room, their experience. Hey, next up this is from our friends at Hertelendi. It is a Bordeaux blend, classically Cab Merlot, a little bit of Cab Franc, some Petit Verdot, and Malbec. And really just kind of a wonderful wine to get busy with.
I can already tell.
I think wine is one of those things you kind of have to judge a little bit by the label. Hopefully the wine label represents one of three things, and it'd be, the wine itself, the winemaker, or the winery owner. It actually glows in the dark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Ralph has a really good time. Ralph Hurtlendi has a really good time with his labels, and he's done a really good job on this one.
You know, one of the things too with labels is that I found actually a correlation between music and wine in a way. When you hear that song from way back when, and it brings you right back into that moment, and you remember exactly who you're with, exactly what you're doing. And I find that sometimes I'll see a label of wine, you know, a bottle, and it will remind me of people I drank that bottle of wine with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, one thing that people don't fully realize about wine tasting is that, yes, we try to break wine down, you know. Is it warm for, you know, warm climate, cool climate? Is it dark fruit? Is it red fruit? You know, is there this note, this layer, what have you? And at the end of the day, our response to wine, and most things, is purely emotional. Everything that we taste, everything that we smell, goes through our olfactory system and goes right back into the brain. And where does it go? Does it go to, you know, our logic circuits? No, it absolutely goes to our memory. And what's interesting is as we taste things, and everybody's had this experience, you might walk in the room, you smell something or you see something, and it can invoke a very powerful memory. The more interesting thing about that, when you dig a little bit deeper, is that memory comes at you in an involuntary manner. There's almost no way to stop it. So not only are we reliving that memory, but we're also reliving our emotional state, or what that memory caused as an emotional state, right back at you. So what happens at the end of the day is that you are having a much more emotional response than maybe a more clinical response to wine, food, or what have you. So we are having that happen all the time. That's one of the things I love about how we go into a wine and do a deep dive. And yes, there are certain things that may be very evident when you first put your nose in, but after a while, it's all about our memory. And it's all about the memories that we have. It's all about our experiences we've had. So when somebody asks me, hey, how do you become a good wine taster? The answer is have great experiences and have lots of them. Eat lots and lots of different types of food. Make sure you go out and, you know, go to the beach and smell the ocean air, or go into the forest and, you know, understand what forest floor is, you know, all of those type of things. While we do try to make wine a very clinical type of thing, it is much more of an emotional reaction. I have a better time talking about wine in an emotional sense rather than a clinical. There are people that feel that when they come into a tasting room that they have to have advanced degrees in microbiology and or, you know, viticulture. You don't. Really, it's not about that. It's much more about being able to communicate what you're experiencing from the wine. And it can be the, you know, the fun sort of wine jargon and vocabulary, but also the best expressions I've had are just the ones that when somebody says how this wine is making them feel, everyone in the room understands exactly what they meant. And that's what it's all about.
Well, that's really profound. I really love that whole, you know, because it's very true. It really is. So, yeah.
Salud.
So, and that's another thing is when you cheers, you don't cheers by the edge of the glass. You actually do it by the bell because the edge is thin. So you don't want to break the glass. So and plus, you like that nice rim.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm here with Jeremy, and I really appreciate Jeremy and Vinter's Collective for taking time to spend with us today and talk a little bit about wine.
Glad to host you, and if you'd like to come check us out online, come in for a tasting. We would absolutely love to host you as well. If you want to hear more of my ramblings, you can just follow me on Instagram and Facebook under Existential Wine Guy, and I'm always good about following back as well, so we'd love to see you on any of those platforms.
All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, brother. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.